you had a clean sheet of paper and had to draw out your perfect car, what would the ingredients be? I know mine. Number 1, a great engine right in the middle. Number 2, a focused chassis. Number 3, drop-dead gorgeous styling. Number 4, driver-focused interiors. And number 5, you add a little lightness in there. And there you have it, the perfect car. This is the Lotus Emira. It has all of those ingredients plus one, a little bit of Chinese investment. Lotus may be owned by Geely, but the Emira is still coursing with traditional Lotus DNA. It is still a proper driver's car. Let's take it out for a spin. It starts with the engine. In a world where EVs are taking over our lives, the engine becomes more and more important. And what an engine the Emira has. Okay, it's a 4-cylinder, but if they had to get a 4-cylinder, they've gone and picked the right one. This is the M139 from AMG, the same engine that's in the A45S, the same engine that holds the title for being the highest power in a production 4-cylinder. If they had to pick a 4-cylinder, it had to be this one. Obviously, it's tuned for the Lotus. In this use case, it makes 355 bhp and 430 Nm of torque. But what I like the most about it is how it feels. They've done something to it to make it feel less turbocharged. It feels so linear, so smooth. It revs all the way to 7200 RPM and it really likes to scream. Just listen to this. Is this sort of performance the sweet spot for India? I think so. 360 horsepower in a light car is plenty. Your 0 to 100 time is quick, your acceleration is good, and on Indian roads, you really don't need more performance than this. If you're up a winding road, you're well taken care of in a car like this. The next ingredient that goes into making a superb driver's car is the chassis. And many would argue, in fact, I'd also probably argue, that it's just as important, if not more important, than the engine. Now this car, it has a bonded aluminum structure bespoke for this car. You've got top class suspension, Eibach springs, Bilstein dampers, and nothing is adjustable. When you're buying the car from factory, you can spec the Tour package or the Sport package. And the Sport package basically brings stiffer suspension and slight changes to the suspension geometry to make it a little more aggressive. The Tour is a little softer and more road biased. This car, it's the first edition, so it gets the Sport package by default and it works really well. It's so darty, it's so reactive to your inputs. You've got a hydraulic steering as well, so you've got plenty of feel, but it's mid-engined, and because of that, you've got this inherent ability to rotate the car beautifully. The steering feels really communicative. It's like a chatterbox, and you've got that chassis that is communicating so much to you through the seat of your pants. It doesn't need any fancy gizmos, no air suspension, no dynamic dampers, nothing. Just a stiff chassis with good suspension to tell you exactly what's going on underneath you. Is it too stiff for India? I honestly don't think so. The Sport chassis is working fine. Maybe the Tour chassis will do a little better in our slightly uneven conditions. It may just be able to soak up bumpy roads a little better. I wouldn't know, I haven't driven it. But it's not like the Sport chassis is struggling here. It's really competent. If the roads are really bumpy, okay, you will feel it. But when the roads are smooth, it's so rewarding to just thread. You can do it with 2 fingers. Phenomenal. And what I really like is that despite it being so low, you have complete control. You have so much of a sense of where the weight is on the car. When you turn it, the weight transfers. There's obviously very little roll because it's so low slung and it's stiff, but you have a good sense of where the grip is, where the weight is, how much throttle you can feed it, how much you can brake. This is where this car comes alive and you can have so much fun. This is what it's made for. Just howling through the corners. Another trick that this car has up its sleeve is an E-diff. So basically, when you're hard on the gas in the corners, it'll brake the inside wheels to send more torque to the outside wheels, which have more grip, and fire you down the road with anger. Too good. Too good. And then there's the drop-dead gorgeous styling, which the Emira has in heaps. I mean, just look at it. It's so compact but so sculpted. It looks so beautiful on the roads. It's also very functional. The ducts up front, these channel air around the car and help reduce drag. You've got those big scoops on the side, and the ducts inside those scoops, they are the air intakes, and they're also used to cool the engines. And what you end up with is a car that has been honed in the wind tunnel, that is very functional, but is also beautiful at the same time. What a machine to even look at. Beautiful exteriors are one thing, but driver-focused interiors, that is as important as the last ingredient. Look at this place. Simple, clean, uncluttered, with only the important stuff inside. This is cool. You've got a flap for your start-stop button. You've got a nice gear selector. Tug it to put it into drive, push to put into reverse. You've got a flat bottom steering wheel that makes ingress and egress easy. Plus it's Alcantara line, so it feels really nice. You've actually got a lot of Alcantara on the dash as well. Paddle shifters, very tactile, very nice to use. You've also got your digital cockpit with all of the important information, very easy to read on there. And it's not like this place is devoid of luxury. You've got Apple CarPlay, which is a great plus. You've got a good audio system. You've got cup holders. You've got storage in the doors, and you've even got features like cruise control, auto wipers, and the like. So this is an easy car to live with. Plus, it's really focused on a great driving experience, which I love. And the final ingredient, lightness. Colin Chapman's iconic words, simplify and then add lightness. They've done that with the Emira. It's not as light as like the older Lotuses, it's not as light as an Elise, but they've made it as light as possible within today's frameworks of safety and today's expectations of features and luxury. 1405 kilos in its lightest form, which is plenty when you've got 360 horsepower to play with. Why is lightness important? It defines everything. It defines everything about the car. It's not just acceleration that improves, efficiency improves, handling improves. You have less inertia going into corners, so you can turn in quicker and with less resistance. And it just has benefits all around. It's just a better car. Heavier cars, they drive really well today because modern engineering allows them to do so. But those cars, they're not better cars, they're just heavier cars that are made better, you know, and that's a huge difference. In a light car like this, everything is focused towards lightness, and that really shows in the way it drives, in the way it floats and breathes over the roads. It's just phenomenal. I'll give you an example of how lightness has a cascading effect. If you have a lighter engine, which makes less power, not some exorbitant 800 horsepower, you have lighter brakes because you don't need as much stopping force. You can have lighter springs and dampers because you won't have as much weight to hold. And there's an example here itself. This 4-cylinder, it has a different subframe from the V6, and this rear subframe for this 4-cylinder engine is 12 kilos lighter. 12 kilos, which is a lot on a car than the subframe on the V6. So lightness all around is really, really important, and it just makes the car more agile, more alive, more natural, and in the way it communicates with you, and it just sort of negates all the artificiality that so many modern performance cars have. Brilliant. Colin Chapman's add lightness ethos kept alive in 2025. And then there's the last ingredient I spoke to you about, a sprinkling of Chinese investment. You see, Geely, a Chinese company, owns a 51% stake in Lotus, and they've had it for a while, since 2017. But I don't think that's reason to worry. They did announce electrification plans, but I think they're rolling those back because the demand for electric performance cars are low. More importantly, look at the other brands that they hold. They have Volvo, and Volvos are still Volvos. They're not diluted in any way, shape or form, and that holds true for Lotus as well. Here's a sign that this is a Geely car. Look at the indicator stalks. Look at the steering controls. These are straight from a Volvo's part bin. So clear signs of Geely ownership. But I'm not too worried. They're preserving Lotus's identity. The Emira is a modern day interpretation of what the Elise was, what the Evora was, what the Exige was. It's a modernized, well-packaged version of that, and that just does wonders. They're preserving that Lotus heritage, that philosophy that Colin Chapman had, and they've taken it into the next decade, which is really wonderful. Now the pricing. You're going to want to hold your breath for this. The Lotus Emira costs rupees 3.2 crores ex-showroom. That's Porsche 911 turbo territory, when this car actually competes with something like the 718 Cayman. It's ridiculous, the pricing, but honestly, if you have the money and you want one of the purest driving experiences you can get in India today, the Lotus Emira is it. It gets all of the ingredients right.